Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all. And this is the second of our Statistics in Science series, and it's great to have you. And tonight, we are very happy to have three amazing data analysts of different kind of levels that is working in the industry from different company that's going to talk about their experience and what they see their role are, and also for the future with the fast-paced changing data scientist, data science field, the data-driven field as well. So they're going to tell you based on their years of experience and also the current move in the sector. So we're very lucky to have all three of them. So the structure will be Dianne will start first, and then Heya, and then Micha, and we'll talk about similar aspects, and then we will have a final Q&A with the three of them as a panel that you can ask questions. Or if you like, you really want to ask some questions immediately to Dianne and Micha and Heya when they are talking about what they are presenting, then by all means raise your hand. If not, then we will have a full Q&A sessions at the end from three of them for you to ask questions. Okay. So first, I will have Dianne to talk about giving her view on what's happening in the field, and as being a data scientist today, and then all the challenges and opportunities for the future of the role. Now, I just want to quickly introduce Dianne. Dianne is one of our alumni, and she graduated from us 2021 from the MSc Data Science program, which was very new at that time. And it's a challenging time, I think, because of COVID. Yep. And she did amazingly and persist and went through, and then went out to get an amazing job. Now you are data senior, not just senior data analyst at Flow Health, and is developing the health data apps and a lot of amazing things. Now I'll leave all that amazing things for Dianne to talk about, but she's definitely have many years of experience in that field and in challenging time at the same time. And she's very happy to come back to share, and we're very lucky to have her again to come back. So I'll pass the floor to Dianne.
Thank you. Nice to be here. I love coming back to LSE to speak. I don't know if this is working. I think I can do it without it.
Yeah. Is it? Let me see.
Okay, I think it's working.
Yeah, it's working.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Lee, for that incredible introduction. My name is Dianne with two N's. I like to make that distinction because most people try to spell it with one N. And I was here in 2020, so I was part of the COVID generation where we had most of our classes online. Graduated in 2021 and moved on to do data science. Now I'm a product analyst. And I'm also kind of moving back into machine learning, so things are changing very rapidly. So I'll give you a little bit about myself. I actually studied chemical engineering in my undergrad in the US. I went to Howard University in DC. Didn't do anything with that. Went and worked in an investment bank. I did operations, decided I didn't want to work in finance, and went to pursue a master's in data science after moving from London to here. So if my accent isn't telling you very much, I'm Nigerian. I grew up in Nigeria, did my master's here. Currently, I work at Flow Health. Some of you might know it. It's a women's health company that started off as a period tracker and now has expanded to also allow men to download the app and save their relationships because they get to know exactly when they need to send their partner's flowers when she's in a bad mood, and so on and so forth. Before, I used to be a data scientist at a mobile gaming company, and I did that for about a year and a half before moving into Flow because I wanted to do more product analytics, and we'll talk about that a little bit. So some fun facts. I have a twin brother. I'm 5 minutes older than him, but he's like he's a giant. He's much taller than me. My sisters are also twins, and I'm a creative at heart. So I once wrote a script for a movie, and I also cameoed in the movie. There's no video evidence, so nobody can see that. I'll move on to the next thing. So I don't think it goes. Can you take me back to the first? Yeah. Okay.
This one?
No, the very first. Let's go back to the first page. Okay, I'll do this patiently now. I think I was moving too fast.
This one?
Yeah, it's fine. Let me see if I can. Okay. Should I point this somewhere?
Yeah, point somewhere here. The machine.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully working. I'll sit too fast.
Sorry, guys. I don't know how to work this thing. So the topic of today, or the session we're supposed to be having, is what are the realities of being a data scientist? What does the future of data science look like now that we have AI? I'm sure all of you are using it. And just to get a show of hands, actually, if you're a master's student, can you put your hand up so I can know what I'm working with? Okay, 3. All right. And then the rest of you are BSc, bachelors, all in data science, so like statistics, social sciences, everything. Okay, cool. So this is going to be relevant for everybody. But I'm going to be using mostly my experience and what I've seen and how things are looking right now. And if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me. And if I'm talking too fast, someone can just do this in the crowd because I tend to speak pretty quickly. All right, so we'll go to the realities of being a data scientist. Ignore the first mistake on there. But there are several things that some of my speakers are going to also be able to relate to tonight that I'm going to mention about what it looks like actually working with data in a company in real life. It's a lot, but it can be fun, challenging, rewarding. Some of the things that come to mind when I think about what it feels like being a data scientist is there's constant studying. So if you think you're going to finish studying here and then go and work and you're never going to study again, the joke's on you. The joke was on me when I graduated. I thought, oh, I'm not going to study again, but sometimes I wake up in the morning to study. There's a lot of communication, There's a lot of uncertainty. And we were actually just making a joke about that, not having enough data, so on and so forth. Sometimes you're the unsung hero of your company because you're saving the metrics, you're saving things, but we'll get to that. A ton of collaboration, a lot of value creation. You have to think really quickly, you have to be highly adaptable, and you have to write a lot as well. But I'm only going to focus on a few of these, the ones that I thought were the most interesting to cover. All right, so I'm going to start with uncertainty. This I think, is one of the biggest things you have to prepare for as being a data scientist, and I'm sure some of you right now are experiencing that. Is anybody doing the practitioner's challenge, or is anybody doing their capstone? I think it's too early for capstone, right? When does capstone happen? That's like in the...
Yeah,
it's too soon. But is anybody doing the practitioner's challenge, or is that still around?
Yeah, it's still around.
Still around.
But we encourage more the second and the final year, but most of the students are first year, and that's...
Oh, I should have asked. My bad. Okay, so you're going to get to do that when you get to your second, third year, where you work with the company, and then they give you a problem, you try to solve it, you present it to them, and so on and so forth. But anyways, I'm going to explain why I brought that up in the first place. As a data scientist, you're going to work with people who are not data scientists, who are in the product side, the design side, all the sides that don't have anything to do with data, and they're going to want to know answers from you. And sometimes they're not even going to know what they want. So they'll come to you with a project that's not really defined in scope, and it's kind of up to you as you are close to the data to try and get exactly what it is that is needed for that project from them. So a lot of times you're going to have stakeholders that will come with a problem and say, I need A, but in reality they actually want B. So you need to ask lots of questions to get to that. Also, when you do start that project, you're going to realize that a lot of times, depending on the kind of project, things change while you're in the project. And that's what we call scope creep. So initially they might tell you, I want to know how many users are installing in this country. But by the time you are 3 weeks into the project, that can expand to, I want to know who is installing and uninstalling. I want to know who has installed before and deleted and then come back, all sorts of things. Then also we have things like bad, incomplete data or non-existent data, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. And it's a huge reality when you're working in certain places where there's just not enough data for you to do your work, and you have to get really creative. And then also you're going to have all of these while having tight deadlines or timelines. So depending on where you work, it might even be like the stakeholders, not the stakeholders, sorry, but the investors in the company that might want an answer, and they'll come to you and they're like, okay, we need XYZ thing. When do you need it? Tomorrow. But you don't have complete data, you don't have the full scope, so on and so forth. But you have to make decisions anyway. So from my experience, some of the times that I've experienced not having enough data or trying to get really creative was when product analysts or product managers will come to me and say, we have this really incredible idea. We think it's going to bring us lots of money. Actually, we have 10 ideas. We think they're going to bring us money. Tell us how much money they're going to bring to us. So we don't have the data before because we've never run this idea before. And you have to go out and get creative and see if there's been any other project you've run like that in the past. How can you adapt it to what they're asking for? Then how can you tell them how much money it's going to bring to them in the company? So those are some of the things I actually have done before. But uncertainty is a big part of being a data scientist that you have to get comfortable with. The second thing is, it says what people think data analysis is like. But in reality, you spend most of your time just thinking. So I found myself stuck on problems sometimes, and I had to go to bed, dream of the answer, and then wake up in the morning and then realize what the answer was. But data analysis is a lot of time you're spending time thinking about the problem, looking at the data and trying to make sense of it. And part of the reasons I came a bit late today is because I'm actually currently the analyst who is on all of our business metrics. So for example, at Flow, we have all the business metrics that are monitored. Every day we get alerts if something has broken or if something is higher or lower than we expect, and then you have to go and investigate it. And a lot of times you might think this investigation is due to thing A, but then you realize that a team in a different place tweaked something 2 days ago, and now a bunch of things are broken. So you kind of have to sit down and really think about stuff and like try to figure out why things are going wrong. So I mentioned before, there's a lot of thinking, a lot of studying, a lot of talking to people, acting quickly, thinking on your feet, and developing hypotheses. So it's really, one of the things I've really experienced is when there's a problem, you have to think of all the possible reasons that it's wrong and then go through each and every one of them to figure out if that's the reason that it's wrong or there's something else that could be causing the problem. I'm not sure if I'm clicking this thing properly.
Oh, do you want
It's
me to
not,
click for you? Does it?
Yeah. Okay, you can click both of them. So as I mentioned, I started studying again like a student because I realized that in the AI landscape, one of the things that's really important is actually understanding the underlying reasons for things and like how things work and how the algorithms work. So I'm doing a lot of that. And at Flow, we do a lot of product analytics. So there's a lot of p-value, a lot of Bayesian, a lot of Bayes used. And those are some of the things that I learned during my time here that I didn't really think I was gonna use. And then I'm thrown into the field, and I'm like, okay, I need to remember all these formulas. I need to remember how to apply them, how they make sense in production or in business, so on and so forth. So the one tip I'd give you is maybe hold on to your material because you might need to refer back to that after you graduate. I kind of wish I did. And my favorite part is communication. Do you mind if I move this? Because I want everyone to tell me what they think about this chart.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm gonna give you guys like a few seconds to take a look at it. And I'm gonna ask you a question after. So if this is a good chart, can you show up hands if you think this is a good chart? Is it a bad chart? You guys don't know if it's a good chart or a bad chart? Is it a good chart? Yes. Is it a bad chart? It's a horrible chart. Because what this is showing us is Ireland's position in the Olympic medals table. So if someone like, let's say, CEO doesn't have time, he's in the elevator, you're showing him this, all he's going to see is that Ireland is getting worse.
Yeah.
But in reality, they're actually doing much better. So in 2024, they were 14th place, 2000, they were in 60th or something like that. But because of the choice of charts, the y-axis, you've given an incorrect picture. And this is one of the biggest things about being a data scientist or a product analyst or something. You have to be very clear with what you're trying to communicate to your stakeholders. And you have to be very careful to make sure you're not misleading them. So if things are supposed to be green, make them green. Don't give a positive number a red color. Don't give a negative number a green color, because people associate those like colors and signs and all of that. So being a data scientist, especially now that I've moved from traditional data science to product analytics, I realized that there's certain kinds of communication. So in the product analytics side, there's a lot of rapid communication because we're launching experiments. And is anybody familiar with what an experiment is in like a business setting? Should I go through it very quickly? All right, so imagine you're on Amazon and the button to buy something is green. Amazon might want to increase the amount of money they're getting from sales. So they will decide to test a red button instead. And then they would try to see if when they test that red button, if more users are actually making a purchase now that they're seeing a red button instead of a green button. And we have to make sure that it's statistically significant. So we have to make sure that actually this red button is causing the users to buy more of this product. And at places like Flow and a lot of the apps that you guys use, they do that a lot, where they're constantly testing their product to see if users are responding better to one design or a different design or one messaging or a different messaging. So sometimes if you go on your app, you and your friend might have the exact same app, but you go on the app and then you realize that you're seeing a different color of something than your friend is. it's likely that you are in an A/B test and you're in one group of the test. So they're trying to see if you're going to respond better to that. And if you do, if we find out that the change that we've made is actually better, then we release that better version for all of our users. And in things like that, so being a product analyst, it's really interesting, by the way, and I decided to do that because it felt a bit more real life to me, because that is a lot of the way that companies make money, additional money. You realize that you have to communicate constantly, because the product managers want to know every day, hey, how is this experiment doing? Is it messing up all of our other metrics? If it is, let's switch it off. If it's not, let's keep it on, things like that. But in the traditional data science experience that I had previously, sometimes you get a project and then they might leave you alone for like a week or 2 weeks, and then you come back with the status update before you submit the final product to them. But depending on the kind of field you decide to go into, one of the things that's for sure is that you're going to need to learn to communicate very clearly with all of your stakeholders in a non-technical way. So you guys are all at LSE. LSE is a great school. I remember when I was doing the master's, it was incredibly theoretical. So everything was the sigma sign or some kind of, summation, this over that. You can't do that in real life. You cannot do it. Everybody needs to understand what it is that you're trying to tell them. So as I mentioned before, there's the pre-communication, or the way I like to see it. When someone comes to you with a project, you must get exactly what it is, or you must try to get exactly what it is that they want to know. Sometimes they don't know what they want to know, and then it's up to the data scientist who is close to the data to ask questions to get to a place where you feel like you can actually provide an answer for them. Then we have the live communication I just spoke about. While the experiment is running, someone is going to walk to you on the kitchen and be like, how is the experiment ABC doing? Do the users like this word better or that word? So you also have to be able to give them, insights on the fly. And then the last one is post-communication, so decks, reports, so on and so forth. As I mentioned, everybody needs to understand your analysis, your results, your numbers. You have to use the right graphs. Please don't do this. I've seen so much of this, it's very funny. But you have to use the right graphs. Simplicity is key. You have to be as simple as possible. Business impact. At the end of the day, these businesses want to make money. So if you're able to show how your analysis is going to save money or make money, or increase retention, whatever it is that is the main thing at the point, but most times it's money, that is what you want to highlight when you're communicating with your stakeholders and with other analysts or whatever. And then the last thing I'll say is, it's good to have fun and keep things interesting. Because a lot of times, a lot of data scientists do incredible work and they write it in a report, but then it's really boring and nobody wants to read it. Or they're giving a presentation and nobody understands what they're saying because it's too technical. So you have to keep things interesting. And actually, last week, we got some feedback. Well, not my team specifically, but we got some feedback on the town hall. What was said was, X team has so many interesting insights to share, but it's so boring. Like, can you guys get some training on how to do presentations? This was like a real feedback in front of everybody, in front of the CEO. And it's crazy because that team has a lot of interesting things to say about all of the analysis that they've done. But because it wasn't engaging, people weren't staying engaged. And then the final thing to talk about I think I'm done with that. So basically it's communication, uncertainty, and a lot of thinking and studying. And it's also very helpful to have other data scientists and analysts that you can talk with and brainstorm with. So I would really encourage each of you actually, as you're here, keep in contact with each other after you graduate, because sometimes you're gonna have a problem you might not want to ask someone at work about. It might be helpful to brainstorm with someone else and be like, hey, this is confusing, what do you think, type of thing. And I'm gonna move to this pretty quickly so I don't take too much time up, but now there's AI, there's ChatGPT. While I was here, I think, had it come out? When did ChatGPT come out?
Just after you graduated.
Just after, yeah. So
2022, I think.
we didn't really have it. Can't believe it's that long ago.
If you have it, I think our assessments are gone.
Oh, yeah, no, we didn't have it. But you guys know, like, with all of the AI that we have, coding and vibe coding is a thing now. I'm sure you guys know about the vibe coding. You don't really need to spend your time debugging as much because you have the co-pilots and so on and so forth. So the most important thing that I've realized from working and from observing the product analysts and data scientists that I really admire is that they understand context. So they get into a team, they get into the business, they really understand how things work, they understand where the problems are, they understand all of the teams that connect with the team that they're working on, so that if there's a problem, they are not just singularly looking at their team, but they're able to be like, actually, this looks like something that might be caused by what the user acquisition team did, or what the product team did, or this and that and that. And a good example is something I was experiencing literally. Is today Wednesday? I've lost track of time because things have moved so fast. But this week, Monday, there was, like I said, I'm the person that's on the business metrics right now. We saw decreases in our conversion rates, and I was losing my mind. I did not know what the reason was. We realized that the user acquisition team had started buying more users in certain countries that had low income. And most of those users are not going to convert because they have low income. So then overall, the conversion rates were dropping because we had more installs from users in lower income countries. So it's like those kind of contexts are the things that will help you to stand out in an AI landscape, because you can ask the AI certain questions, but if you don't have the context, you're not going to get the answer that you need. The second thing is business-minded and knowing what to ask of the data. I think I just covered that already, so no need to really go into that. And you have to know what your company can implement, because sometimes you go to ChatGPT, you ask it for a solution, it gives you some really sexy solutions that you just don't have the infrastructure to implement at your company. So knowing the kind of questions to ask, knowing the solutions that you can actually bring and suggest to your managers as a viable, like, practical solution is kind of what sets you apart. And then leveraging AI. So there's a lot of, I want to call it fear-mongering that I see online, where they're like, AI is going to take all the data science jobs, so on and so forth. I'm not a soothsayer, I'm not a fortune teller, so I don't know if that's true, but I don't necessarily think it's true. I think it's just about, if you're able to use it and get ahead, then it can serve you. It can make you faster. One of the things I've realized being a data scientist is everybody wants a tool to make their life easier, everybody wants a dashboard, so on and so forth. And if you can use AI to build those things, create scripts like in Python, deliver it to a product manager that they can run on their own, it frees up your time to be able to actually go and get more context so that you can ask the AI better questions so that you can make more money for your company. So all of these things are kind of related. And then the last one is understanding the underlying concepts and the algorithms, which is why I'm reading that ML book again, because I really want to remember how all of the algorithms work. So if something breaks, I can actually try to explain it to the best of my ability, because it's not everything you're going to be able to explain. And this is my final slide, but how to get ahead in the current AI landscape and the current data science landscape is, as I mentioned, identifying areas of improvement within your business. So if you guys decide to go into corporate, private, you want your eye not to be just focused on number, but you kind of want to know what the priority is at any time. And as the data person, you have the upper hand, because you can always back up your claims with data and be like, okay, we saw that this experiment that was run in January failed, but during this experiment, we saw that users actually liked X thing. So how about we hone in on X thing and potentially run that as an experiment to give us more money, so on and so forth. Explaining things in a simple and clear way, it helps make you the go-to person. So communication is really, really important. You want to take as many opportunities as you can to clearly express yourself on Slack, because Slack is kind of what we use, or whatever other internal tool is used. So as you're here doing your bachelor's or your master's, any opportunity you have to explain things in a simple way, do it. Practitioner challenge, I made sure I did that. Do it. Capgemini challenge, not Capgemini, sorry. The capstone, do that.
Capstone.
They also have the data study group, or the data science institute. There was a data science institute, yeah. Join that as well. Do whatever projects there are and get the practice in talking about numbers in a very story-like way. Basically, if you feel entertained by your numbers, chances are that, actually, maybe that's not true, because you feel entertained because you know what's happening. If your friends feel entertained by your numbers, then maybe other people are going to be entertained as well. You kind of want people to be on board. And then always think of the most practical, data-driven solution to a problem. And like I said, use AI to build systems to make your life easier so that you have more time to focus on gathering context. Understand the whole business if you can. It's really difficult, but again, if you understand what one team does and how it intersects with another team, you as data scientists, when you see metrics going all over the place, you have the upper hand, because you can actually explain why conversion rates is dropping, revenue is dropping, so on and so forth. I put this point here of be the AI guy, because I'm currently not the AI guy at my company, but I know that there are other scientists who are the AI guy. It makes them really cool. So basically, they go out, they look for things that could potentially apply to what we do at Flow. They bring it in, they test things, they play around. Anything that's safe, though, is not everything that we do this with. And in that way, they kind of get ahead. So kind of explore the tools, play around with the tools so that you can kind of know what your company can adopt or not. And teach people and be visible. There is nothing better than visibility in a company. I will tell you that now. And as a data scientist, there are a lot of people that are shy because they feel like they don't understand how to use dashboards or they don't understand data. You want to be that person who they feel comfortable coming to ask. Some of the really, really senior people at my company, they come to me like, hey, Dianne, please, what is a p-value? Or what is this? What is that? And they can do it over and over again, and I keep explaining it to them, or I host sessions at work. That way they know this is the data guy or data girl, and they know what they're doing, and they can explain things to people in a way that we actually understand. And then have fun, if you can. You know, I'd say that's really important. If you're having fun, the chances are that other people are also enjoying the work that you're doing. So those would be pretty much what it is from me, and I hope I took less than 20 minutes. I did not, oops, my bad. Okay, thank you everyone. If anyone has questions, please ask later.
Yeah. I'm going to bring in a second speaker. Actually, I do not need this, I'm loud. Here you might need this, because I think you will be so. All right, just a quick introduction. Again, we're very lucky to have Heya here. And she's also alumni, but she's on the MSc Health Data Science and graduated 2 years ago. Yeah. Yes. And but just 2 years, you already explore a lot of things. So she's a data and insights analyst, and already got a range of clients that are exciting, right? Even I do not know, it's a long list of them so that you probably can tell them or the projects that you have done, and I'll leave that to you to give them some examples of your clients and what the things you've seen in the clients. Keep them a bit of a secret. I leave it to you to talk about. And we're very good to have you here to give a totally different kind, because you also have the health data science background, health policy. And this is a good example of how data science actually can work in a totally different field, not just, product. Then we have Micha is on the finance side, quite on the finance, and then, but I think you can also go finance and also onto a totally different kind of industry, how the data scientists can actually spread across every industry. So I'll leave that floor to Heya and to talk and tell us more about the exciting things that you have done. I will shut this off. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much for the great introduction. Hello everyone, my name is Heya. You can call me Heya or Heya, both are fine. So not very long ago, I was sitting exactly where you guys are at the moment. I was also thinking about my deadlines, my assignments, my exams, all of those sort of things. And then voila, my degree got over, and I landed a job at a market research firm. I work as a data and insight analyst. I knew nothing about market research. I did not even knew what is market research before I joined my current position. But the one thing that I would say in a nutshell, what I do is basically turn, how do I say this? So basically turn messy human behavior insights into insights that can be worked for the business directly. So my field has two main sectors. So we have a qual and we have quant. I love the qual side of my work because that gets to help me talk to a lot of people. The qual side is basically us conducting focus group, these discussions, friendship groups, even shopper visits. For example, let's say there is a rice brand, and that brand has to do a study in terms of who are these people who is buying my brand. Now, how would they get to know? So we collect a few people and make a grid out of it, and we take them to these stores and let them just shop whatever they do. Now, our job is to understand how they are shopping that particular product. So, and that cannot be, mind you, that cannot be done by any AI, because you cannot bring an AI software or anything to the store, and or you can't even first record in the store. So that's other thing. But yeah, these kind of nuances and emotions can only be analyzed by a human. So you do need a human intervention in these. But where do we need AI here when we are doing these qual studies is when we are analyzing, let's suppose we have done these shopper visits for like over 30 people or maybe 40 people. So to get a summary out of it, or to get the main themes out of those shopper visits, we need AI. So let's say we have a platform called Kolu that does it perfectly for us. But when there are studies like which involve human emotions, which involve culture, tradition, stuff like these, that again cannot be analyzed by AI. Whereas studies like where we are just talking about a software. Now, if you're talking about a software to a person, let's say, do you use this? What kind of other features do you want in your software? XYZ. That person is not going to say, oh, you know what, 10 years ago, my mom used to use this and I got teary eyes, and that doesn't happen. So you use platforms like Listen Labs, which basically you upload like maybe 20 questions onto that platform, and that is going to ask you basically all the questions that you have added into that particular platform. Now, you cannot do the same thing when it comes to, as I mentioned, for studies which involve emotions, which involve traditions, culture, and those kind of nuances. So yeah, that is one place that I think there is a lot of work for the AI platforms. And then yeah, we have the other side of market research is quant. So yeah, there is again a lot. Again, I'm going to open the can of worms here, but there is a lot when it comes to quant. So again, as I gave you an example of the rice study. Now you have the qual data with you, but again, that is very small. This is like a study of what, 30 people, 40 people. Now to give more data, you use quant. So you put out a lot of surveys out there to different countries, to different nationalities, basically across the globe, and then you get this data. Then you basically have to balance it out against the qual that you have found out. And that is how a project works basically. Again, for quant, there aren't a lot of platforms that I'll still say that are very helpful. I mean, if you put like a data of like what, 2,000 responses onto ChatGPT, it will not do the job that you want it to do. So again, there is a lot of manual work that goes inside it. But then you have to use it accordingly to save time. And of course, it has to be time efficient. And as my fellow speaker also said, you have to make it as easy as possible, because it doesn't matter at the end of the day that you're analyzing the data from Excel or by R or by Python. It all comes down to how simple it is and how simply you're able to explain what you want to explain. So yeah, so again, do not whenever you're trying to explain anything, or even in your day-to-day projects, don't focus on the nitty-gritties of it, or how wonderful your model works, or what algorithm you have used. It all comes down to how you're going to explain it to the person. What I started doing initially, because I had a bad habit when I was studying here, that, oh, you know what, I did it in this manner and I use this algorithm, I use this method. No one cares. Everyone cares about the end result and how easy it is. For many of the stakeholders, they don't know these terms. They are not aware of it. What I have started doing is I have started explaining things to my dad. He doesn't know anything about what I do. And if I'm able to explain my dad that this is the end result that I'm getting, then I know, okay, this is fine. This is as simple as I can do. There's nothing more or there's nothing less. Because all the stakeholders that you are going to work, once you get into the field, they are over 40, they are over 45, and I know they are extremely experienced with, but they are way behind when it comes to terminologies, like different terminologies that you're studying in your day-to-day LSE life. So yeah, that's one thing. And I think there are a lot of platforms that you can use, but at the same time, you cannot depend on it. For example, again, we are using a platform like Kolu, but we cannot depend on it completely. Those nuances that we get while we are doing the study, while we are taking the interview, you cannot expect a platform like Kolu or ChatGPT or any other platform per se to get those for you. So human intervention is always needed. And what I feel, I might be wrong by saying this, but LLM, when it comes to LLM, I think it was made to interpret numbers, not text. Sorry, it's the other way. LLM was made to interpret the text, not the numbers, which is why I feel there is a lot of work when it comes to analyzing the quant data that we have. So again, another example, when we have these surveys out, we do get Excels, and once the survey is finished, the client needs a top line ASAP. So what do? A normal person would just upload that confidential information on ChatGPT and voila, you get the top line. But you actually read it, it's nonsense. So one person has to intervene and to get to the crux of it, get to the crux of the data and make a top line out of it. So yeah, I think that's one thing. And guys, again, I feel simplicity is the key, as she rightly mentioned. When I started working, I used to create these decks, which were like 20 pages, 30 slides, and that could have been explained in just 2 slides or 3 slides. That is where I am right now. So less is more when you are working in any firm, from small to big to mid-size, because nobody has the time to go through a 100-page deck. You have done a wonderful job, you have applied all the algorithms, you have used all the models, but no one cares. That's the sad part of it. No one cares. It all comes down to how you're going to explain me this problem in just 3 pointers and give me the actionable insights that, okay, fine, if this is the problem, these are the 3 points that I'm going to work on, and yeah, you're good to go. So yeah, I think that's all from me. I'm hoping for some questions. Anything related to market research, or anyone like me who doesn't know anything about market research, please come. I'll help you out.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much. To give a perspective from including qualitative data, that is very challenging to actually analyze, but I'll leave you guys to ask a question. Now, we have a leader here who actually, Micha is the head of data science and credit risk at Updraft, a fintech company. And so you have a team, so you lead the team, and you have a team there that are data scientists out there and credit risk analysts. So you will have a good overview from the very junior until yourself as the leader. So I'm putting you at the last is because I think that kind of you will be able to give a very nice overview of how you put analytics, strategy as a team leader, and how you bring your team together and in the field, and how you see the future, whether your team will be growing or your team will be decreasing. That will be something that we really want to hear from you. I will leave that to you, whether you want to have the mic, if you're soft.
Let's find out. Can you hear?
Can you hear my
maybe?
car?
Yes, no, no, okay. I see a no at the top. Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Better now? No?
Can you hear my car?
Also no? Kind of? Okay.
Closer. You have to go closer.
Now?
Right.
Yeah? Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'm Micha. Hey. I started my undergrad at LSE in the stats department, and then also did my master's here in data science. And from there, I kind of started my career in joining as a data scientist and working on building data models, creating more predictive analytics, essentially optimizing in-store operations for supermarkets. And then for the past almost 5 years, I've been working at Updraft. I joined there as a kind of starting the data science operation in the company, and currently I lead the team on data as well as credit risk. And to give you a bit of a understanding of what Updraft is, to explain what I'll talk about a bit later, is Updraft is a financial wellness app. It's a fintech startup that tries to help people through their journey of understanding their credit and getting a better control of their finances. And one of the ways we do that is by lending to customers, particularly ones that are heavily indebted in credit card and overdraft debt, and supporting them in consolidating and getting lower interest rates and better terms for their loans, to be able to manage their day-to-day better. And I'd like to focus a bit today about the perception of data science I had as a student versus what I found out in the real world and how I've seen that change in the past couple of years as we kind of transition in this new technology that we're facing. So yeah, as a student, I was very focused on kind of statistical theory, and I was very passionate about understanding probabilities and understanding how models worked and how to tune them best and how to reach the best accuracy. And I really cared about how do we make that better and the numbers go up in that kind of capacity, and how to code things effectively and how to make the code run faster and how to tune all those models as well. And in my first role, I quickly realized that that's a very small part of the job. It can be a big part of your job depending on where you work, but in reality, the more important decisions are not based on how much time you spend on kind of optimizing that kind of model, but rather how many decisions are you making and are you driving more of that value add in the business. And the biggest difference here between how I used to perceive, I guess, data as a student versus now has to do with how your personal judgment, your understanding of the domain, your understanding of the data, your understanding of how those models are to be used is so much more important than what you apply to that data in terms of the modeling. And the second piece I learned in my first job was a lot more about whether you care about the problems that you're solving, because it really makes a difference. As a student, I really didn't matter to me whether I found a job in whichever industry. I just cared about being able to work with data and like make fancy stuff and build graphs or whatever it was, models. And soon I realized that what truly motivates you to make better decisions and add that value that everyone wants to add in a business is being able to make work in an industry that you're passionate about, in a space, in a domain that you want to contribute, that you're interested in, and when that happens, then naturally you will have the positive impact that you want. And you should be thinking about the interests that you have in your life, in terms whether maybe you like watching tennis, or maybe you like a special playing games on your phone, or whatever it is. Like, figure out how you can use that when you're looking for jobs, or when you're looking to where you want to use your skill set in the industry, because that's going to differentiate you from everyone else, especially now that tools are available to everyone pretty easily. So yeah, from there I joined Updraft at the very early stages, and I had the opportunity to work day to day with the CEO, with the CTO, kind of from the first days in the company. And what was a very quick learning there is that decisions need to happen very quickly in a fast environment. Every one of these decisions has a time pressure. And the other side of the coin is that every decision can be made better with data. No matter whether your data is incomplete, whether your matter is not clean, or whether it has uncertainties, or you can't fully reconcile it. The reality is, if you use data, the decision most of the time is going to be better. So it's about whether you want to be part of that decision making, whether you want to be part of adding value into that process by making the best out of those. And a lot of the time that means that you have to be able to create simple analytics. Sometimes it's just adding a column into a sheet that some team uses to make calls every day that helps them prioritize. And it's not about building the most predictive model, but about being able to provide the insight that is most valuable to the people that are making the decisions every day. And how that drives that innovation is, again, using that judgment, using that context and the understanding of the business, and how the data is being used, and what data could be used to make better decisions, because you will be the ones that are in that leading circle of what data is actually available to us. So yeah, that's a lot about, essentially, it's more about figuring out the way that you can help navigate decisions in the uncertainty rather than making the right decision, because you can spend 20 days figuring out the right decision, but that's not the best value you can add in a business a lot of the time. And that's where prioritization and speed and communication become so much more important than the expertise of the technology. And as part of that, I'll say that from my experience at least, being close to decisions, the closer you are to that decision-making process, the more accelerated your learning is going to be in the real world. If you choose roles that allow you to have some level of ownership and allow you to have some level of decision-making, however small that may be, that will be what will truly change how you think about data, how you think about the businesses that you're building or working in, and supporting that process. And in terms of kind of, I guess, how the world is changing and how I've seen that in the different sectors is that tools are becoming more accessible. Anyone can code today. Anyone can really run a model. And a lot of that work is automated, even where I'm at, like that is something that can be managed. But what expertise we all need to bring to the table is how are we using our judgment? How are we using our sanity checking? How are we asking the right questions to all of this, whether it's an AI agent or a business owner, whatever that may be? Are you asking the right question? And you can only do that if you learn to build that judgment and understand what's actually important in each of these problems that you're solving. Yeah, and I do think I've seen more and more roles move more towards that decision, more of the operations, more of that kind of within the business functions that build the strategies. Today, in terms of data versus in the past, I feel like data science, at least when I started, was a lot more about can you build a model and can you spend a month or 2 months or 3 months kind of optimizing that model, and that's just not the reality anymore. And at least it's not. I don't see that being the case in the future, in the short future. So yeah, if I have any kind of closing arguments, it would be that I'd encourage everyone to make decisions in terms of your careers would put you in a place where you choose to be exposed into decisions, choose to be close to the ownership as much as possible, choose smaller teams if feasible, where you can, instead of like the prestige that you can have from like bigger companies and bigger organizations, the acceleration that you'll get in learning from this kind of environment where you can be trusted, and especially in startups where innovation is much more kind of encouraged and actually necessary, will be a much bigger return of investment than choosing something that's a bit more prestigious or a bit more comfortable. In the long term, that is what's going to differentiate you from the world where essentially technology and coding and all of these different pieces are very easily accessible to everyone. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I hope you maybe this is a selling point for startups or not. But, keen to talk to everyone later and cover these things around financial wellness and startups.
Oh, thank you.